Whether you have children or not, schools shape our entire community. They build up our workforce. They impact livability. They define the health of our communities. There are some big challenges in Arizona's education system right now: budgets, access, accountability. But with that has also come immense creativity and innovation from teachers, students, businesses, nonprofits, and private citizens, all navigating those challenges. And that's what we're spotlighting with this special. I'm Education Solutions reporter Nohelani Graf, and this is your Education Impact. Chronic absenteeism is a major challenge across Arizona. It impacts enrollment, which shrinks funding. Now, a field trip might sound like a break from learning, but educators say when focused on the arts, they can actually be a powerful tool to keep kids in school. The sights, the sounds, the wonder of a field trip shared with friends. On this trip, students step inside Symphony Hall, many for the first time.
It's just really exciting for me to see what I love and, get to experience that.
Moments like this are exactly what educators hope will stick with students long after the trip ends.
Post-pandemic, our rates of chronic absenteeism across Arizona have actually doubled.
In Arizona, missing just 10% of the school year counts as chronic absenteeism. Dr. Beth Maloney says field trips can help change that trend.
But guess when we never had any absences? A field trip day. Research really shows what a ripple effect they can have on student achievement, attendance rates. It combats dropout rates.
Because the excitement starts long before the music begins.
It really does motivate me to come to school, and it makes me excited because I don't know what's going to happen.
New connections are created.
People can really get close to each other, learn about more each other.
They're really excited to get outside the classroom and still learn.
But field trips are becoming harder for many schools to afford. Rising transportation costs and shrinking budgets mean some districts have had to cut them entirely. Programs like Act One work with schools and community partners to cover the costs, giving students an experience they might otherwise never have.
Arts and culture sometimes are the first things to go off of a school's plate and off of a family's plate. That's why we exist. We are here to bridge that gap.
Back inside the hall, the anticipation keeps building. More musicians find their seats. The tuning fades. Students lean in, the lights dim, the room goes quiet. And just like that, the lesson begins. Arizona is facing a growing challenge. Too many kids are struggling to read at grade level, but a new state grant is focused on strengthening the system behind early education so that more Arizona kids are set up to succeed. Parents are their child's first teacher.
Vocabulary acquisition at ages 3 and 4 is actually the #1 predictor of reading on grade level at 3rd grade. So we need to pay careful attention to what happens in that birth to 5 time frame.
But for many Arizona families, access to high quality early learning is limited.
It's a gap, but it's also an opportunity for partners here in the state to work collaboratively to close that gap.
Right now, only about 1 in 4 children can attend those programs, leaving many without that early foundation. That's where a new federal investment comes in, an $8.4 million preschool development grant aimed at strengthening the system behind early education.
Systems, not silos, are going to create that change we want to see for child outcomes.
Instead of direct classroom funding, the focus is on long-term fixes, like helping preschool and childcare providers improve their offerings through the Quality First Resource Program.
With coaching, we also offer some incentive funding so that they can help to build libraries. So with those supports, they really are able to reach those quality ratings.
ratings that then help parents with school choice. They also strengthen business plans.
They go into the business because they have a love of children and they really want to work with kids. And sometimes because of that, they have less experience on the business side.
Leaders say even a one-year grant can make a lasting difference, especially as education budgets remain tight.
Helps us to build some of the foundational pieces that we've been working on. Hopefully make the results and the impact of this one-year grant last many more years beyond.
A new program in Tempe is using music to create inclusion. It's pairing students with and without disabilities and giving them something powerful in common. This is United Sound. Listen in. Strum by strum. You're not just hearing a guitar lesson, it's the soundtrack of connection. At McClintock and Marcos de Niza High Schools, students aren't just learning side by side, they're finding a shared rhythm through a program called United Sound.
It's not really about the music, but that is such an effective bridge to put between kids. It eliminates any awkwardness.
Students with special needs, new musicians, as they're called here, paired with a team of band students, mentors, all learning guitar together. Lessons turn abstract music concepts.
For us, rhythms are foods, and then pitch is color. Abstract concepts and making them into something concrete is the fastest way to take the hard things about music and making them easy.
But the real lesson goes far beyond the notes.
Have a sense of community and a sense of belonging, and any of their differences are completely gone because they all come together through music.
For band director Amanda Lenhart, this program is personal. She was once a peer mentor herself.
It is now a full circle moment where I'm not the mentor anymore, but now my students are.
She says week by week, students are building more than skills.
What they don't realize is that this is like a lifelong friendship that they've created and an alliance to be, a friend and just someone that really understands that friendship can be taught through anything, not just music.
Programs like this don't happen without support.
It just means the world to see the smiles on their faces, the things that they get to try that they haven't tried before, their confidence. Gives you hope for the future.
With help from the Tempe Diablos, the program is now part of these campuses and here to stay, just like any good song. Shared music, shared moments, shared memories. What do vaping, tobacco taxes, and school readiness have in common? More than you might think. Why a shift in nicotine use is impacting early education programs across Arizona. Fewer people are smoking cigarettes in Arizona. About 5 times more are vaping instead, and that shift is causing millions of dollars in funding losses for early childhood programs. And the solution is hitting a wall. The building blocks of school readiness start stacking years before kindergarten.
We know that from birth to 5, 90% of the brain growth happens within that window. It's the time that we should be focusing on the child's life the most.
From speech therapies to early literacy support, child care scholarships, and health screenings. In Arizona, many of those programs are funded through a voter-approved tobacco tax. But Joe Barba with First Things First says that funding model is starting to break down.
Today we are operating with about $80 million less in revenue. So whether you're a nonprofit, a state agency, or a business, $80 million less in revenue every year is going to substantially change the way that you operate.
The reason? Fewer people are smoking traditional cigarettes, but many haven't quit nicotine. They've switched to vaping, and those products aren't taxed the same way.
That happened in 2006. 2007, vapor and nicotine products entered the market. If our forefathers and foremothers, would have anticipated the people would be smoking out of USB sticks, that language would have been included in the original voter initiative.
Advocates say there's a straightforward fix. Update the law to include the same point of sale tax.
If voters in 2006 would have had that also in that language, they would have absolutely approved it. And so we have an opportunity now to close the loophole and to modernize our tax structures on these products.
But that proposal has stalled at the state legislature, and without new funding, programs are already being cut. For families already struggling, that could mean fewer options and harder choices.
There are going to be families, if this isn't solved in the future, that won't have those same opportunities.
And without the right stepping stones and a harder climb to success, advocates say it sets up a shaky outlook for Arizona's future workforce.
But that investment starts with our youngest Arizona citizens.
One program hit by that funding gap: early intervention support. Arizona sets one of the highest bars in the country to qualify for state help with speech and development therapies, putting it out of reach for some families. But advocates are pushing for change.
We do work on it a lot, and he has progressed.
For Griffin, learning looks like this: playing, exploring, and practicing his words.
What color is that?
It's pink.
It is pink.
That's a big one, because getting him the help he needed to get here wasn't easy.
We had him evaluated through the early intervention program twice, specifically for speech language. He wasn't meeting the milestones that he should have when he was 1 year old and 2 years old.
Kirsten Pollitt works in early childhood policy at Children's Action Alliance. But as a mom, she says she ran into the same wall many Arizona families face.
Criteria for the early intervention program is you need a 50% delay in one or more areas in order to qualify for the program.
Even though Griffin was clearly behind in speech, he didn't meet that threshold.
Instead of saying he was hungry or a certain food that he wanted to eat, he would drag my husband or I to the pantry, say up, and then point to what he wanted.
So instead of state support, the cost fell on the family.
$400 a month that we paid for him to receive a 30-minute speech session. I know not a lot of families aren't able to do that.
Advocates say it's a statewide gap.
We serve less than 3% of infants and toddlers in the state.
Last year, about 16,000 children were referred for early intervention. Only about half were served. And missing that window can have lasting impacts. Speech is one of the biggest indicators of whether a child will be reading on grade level by third grade. Programs through First Things First help fill some of those gaps, but their funding is shrinking.
We need to continue to work with the legislature and ask them to prioritize Arizona families, ask them to prioritize babies, toddlers, and preschoolers in the state.
You're my little
cookie.
For Kirsten, the answer was clear.
When they're in those really crucial years, every single second counts.
For others,
families really shouldn't have to choose between basic necessities and being able to find services for their child.
It's hard to find the words for a choice like that.
But that's perfectly okay.
3D printed weapons are showing up in Arizona schools, often made at home using designs kids easily find online. But there are steps educators and parents can take to get ahead of the problem. It started with a records request. Investigative journalist Alice Driver, working with The Beam, asked Arizona school districts what weapons were being confiscated.
And I was just really kind of wanting to see what was being confiscated.
One thing jumped off the pages: 3D printed weapons.
Which in some cases, it was a 5th grader, 10 years old.
The items, ranging from knives to gun components, were typically printed at home using designs easily found online.
It's emerging and picking up speed. The thing is, the printers are cheaper, the designs are better, and a student can find kind of a step-by-step instruction in minutes.
Colton Easton from Safer Schools Together says what's most concerning, it's not just what's being found, but what isn't.
The scary part is, for every weapon that gets found or piece that's manufactured, there are still students at home or at school right now that are researching how to build some of them.
And in many cases, students may not even see the danger.
These kids thought, that it was like a fidget spinner, the knife was like a fidget spinner. They could still be used like weapons.
Driver also found inconsistencies in how schools responded, from how items were classified to whether parents were notified.
Are we treating these as weapons? Are we treating them as toys? What kind of disciplinary action are we looking at?
That's where experts say schools need to catch up.
we need to look at our policies and procedures, because most schools that have 3D printers, they have safety rules, right? The health side is covered, the security side is open.
Clear policies and better communication with families can make a difference, because much of this starts online and outside the classroom. But early awareness and action can keep it from graduating to the next campus threat.
Right? This isn't a future problem. It's happening right now. The technology is in your buildings, it's in your homes. So the question isn't whether we deal with it, it's how can we get ahead of it.
School lunches are getting a makeover. Why students in one district are rating cafeteria meals like restaurant critics ahead of major nutrition changes. An unprecedented issue in our state. More schools are closing than ever before. For students with special needs, it can mean disrupted services and heightened anxiety. So advocates are helping ease the transition. Linda Taylor has been through it multiple times. As a former special education director, she helped close schools and move some of the district's most vulnerable students.
We closed 3 schools in 1 year.
Each of those campuses home to specialized programs and families who relied on them.
It's human nature to be resistant to change, and especially with parents with special needs students, their level of anxiety is definitely heightened.
From safety concerns to longer bus rides, leaving behind routines and trusted staff, the transition can feel overwhelming for everyone. But Taylor says there is reassurance built into the system.
They've watched the safeguards about, my child might be an eloper, a kid who runs and flees the campus. They need to know that those same safety measures will be in place.
Now, she's helping families navigate that same uncertainty, joining virtual town halls hosted by Champions for Kids, a coalition of parents, attorneys, and advocates working to guide families through school closures.
There's some things that they're just not going to know, but there's a lot of things that they can do ahead of time.
Founder Carla Phillips-Kravickas says while every student feels the impact, for those with disabilities, the questions are different. In some cases, there may be little choice in where a child goes next.
If they're in a specialized autism program and that program is being picked up and moved to school A, you're going to school A.
But there is one critical tool families can lean on.
Number one is to make sure that the IEP is up to date. That's your passport, and that's what the new school knows that they have to provide for you.
An individualized education program, or IEP, is a legal document, meaning services must follow the student. The leading message in these town halls: prepare now. Ask questions, visit new campuses, and most importantly, speak up.
Be your child's best advocate. You know your child better than anybody, and make sure that the school that they're going to knows your child.
For children who are visually impaired, the biggest challenge often isn't what they can or can't see. It's the blind spots the rest of us have when it comes to what they can do. One Phoenix school is working to change that. It looks like any other preschool classroom. Bright colors, art on the walls, little backpacks hanging in a row. But a few nuances come into focus. Walking sticks by the door, braille on placards, textures guiding tiny hands from one place to the next. This is the Foundation for Blind Children, where the goal isn't just learning, it's independence.
Really appreciate how much magic is happening every single day.
Because here, the biggest barrier isn't blindness, it's raising the bar on expectation by everyone else.
That is our biggest Achilles heel. Rafting the Grand Canyon is not cool for someone who's visually impaired. It's just cool.
And that starts early.
She's kind of been with FBC since she was a baby. We were able to bring her in for pre-K.
When Maeve first arrived,
well, she wasn't walking at all.
I was told when she was 4 months old that I would not anticipate her walking, and we have proved them wrong.
Her first steps happened here.
We cried. Yeah.
Now she's in pre-K. For Maeve's parents, the progress isn't just physical, because her vision loss will get worse. It's a mindset.
We expect a lot from Maeve. We don't want to raise her of the, just because you are special needs, we're gonna wait on you hand and foot. We want her to build her independence.
That independence is exactly what this school is designed to teach. From learning Braille, to navigating classrooms, to preparing for a future alongside sighted peers.
Start kindergarten ready to fly versus having to kind of catch up.
Which one of those do you like?
And that's the real vision for Maeve and her classmates, to not be defined by what they can't do.
The dreams, they don't change just because of the diagnosis. Now the path might change and how we get there might change, but the dreams do not.
And to prove what they can, so the rest of the world really starts to see them.
Anything anybody else can do, they can do too.
New nutrition standards go into effect next school year, limiting sugars and removing certain additives from cafeterias, requiring new recipes and new ingredients. One school district is being praised statewide for its unique approach to reshaping the menu.
This one just tastes dull and pale.
At lunch inside the Queen Creek Unified School District, students aren't just eating, they're turning the tables and doing the grading. Today's assignment? Taste test potential new cafeteria meals and score them like food critics.
The next item is teriyaki chicken.
The district invited members of its Student Superintendent Advisory Council, kids from 4th grade through high school, to help decide what gets served and what's on the chopping block.
They could be involved in the process of choosing items for next school year menu.
I see some probably pepper.
Schools already face a tall order. New state and federal nutrition standards will soon limit sugar and remove certain additives from school meals. So districts are searching for items that are both healthier and student approved.
What we're trying to do is come up with new items that are made from scratch that still taste good.
Here, some courses are a blind taste test, the current burger patties or a healthier version.
The red one is way more dry.
Same with the mac and cheese.
It has a lot of cheese.
Others replace frozen heat and serve options with fresh recipes like chicken enchiladas, teriyaki noodles, homemade pancakes, even a healthier dessert.
These are the last two items, okay? Chia pudding.
Students rate everything from flavor to texture and whether they'd actually choose it in the lunch line.
I'm really picky, so I like having different options.
The district says participation in school lunch programs matters. More students eating school meals means more funding and more resources to serve higher quality food.
We have parents trusting that our food is healthy and that we care about the nutrition of their students, then that participation will increase.
And judging by the reactions in this taste test, the new efforts get a chef's kiss from these critics.
It's really good.
The challenges in education feel big, but so is the determination of the people working to meet them, which really shows us that sometimes the best ideas don't start in a boardroom, they come from a classroom, a community center, or a conversation. And maybe something that you've seen here inspired an idea for your own community. If you know of an education solutions story that should be spotlighted, email us at education@12news.com. I'm Nohelani Graff. Thank you for watching Education Impact.